Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Dynamite shirt printing, Kyle Metz. What a guy. He came on as a sponsor, and my primary use for him is drop shipping. So what that means is that I don't got to buy inventory. I don't got to buy a bunch of t-shirts. Kyle handles it all. So it's ordered online, and then he prints it and ships it, and he handles everything. And it works out for both parties. If you're looking for something else like general screen printing, he handles that. He does embroidery. He does direct to garment, DTG, which means you can do one-offs, and there's no minimum on that. Kyle's been able to help a lot of businesses that I've been funneling to him just to get going and to, start up. I mean, you don't want to order 100 t-shirts when you're just coming out the gate. And Kyle can handle small orders, large orders. He can handle everything you need. That's Dynamite Shirt Printing, and it's dynamiteshirtprinting.com. Go check it out. My favorite skate shop in the Valley, 5anddimeeaston.com. You can shop online or in store. Their address is 140 Northampton Street, Easton, PA. Their hours are Monday through Friday, 11 to 7, Saturday, 10 to 7, and Sundays, 11 to 5. They carry clothing, shoes, boards, accessories, and more. You can get complete decks down there. They got grip. They got some local clothing down there as well. I know a couple guys that came on the show that they're now selling stuff in store, and they're exclusive to Fucked. They are doing so much for the independent skate community. They're doing so much for the DIY. They're doing a lot in the area with skateboarding, and I couldn't be prouder to have them as a sponsor. Their story is incredible, from starting it when they were 18 and then coming back later in life to opening up what the store is that they wanted. And the two guys down there are just incredible. I can't say enough good things about them. I love that they're a sponsor, and they really help out in the community. And if you skate or want to support them, please go check them out locally. It is 140 Northampton Street, Easton, PA. Online, it is 5anddimeeaston.com. Please go check them out. All Valley Rooter, Jared LaBarba, friend of the show, childhood friend, Never Again Studios official plumber. 24-hour emergency services. 610-762-1656. That's 610-762-1656. They charge by the job, not by the hour, and they are 100% fully insured. They have free estimates. They also do installation and repair. They have a list of things. I can't go over them all on here, but you can find them at allvalleyrouter.net. All of Jared's services are on there. It's a beautiful website. You can contact him through that website. You can find out how to do, emergency services. Where should I call? Who should I contact? You can get all that there at allvalleyrouter.net. Free estimates, fully insured. Jared LaBarba. Check him out. I just keep going. We'll get started. Never Again Radio episode. I have no fucking clue. Welcome to Never Again Radio. That's how we start. Everyone usually laughs and it breaks the ice because I'm so unorganized. Your spot, I've always seen. I never stopped at, and people have told me about going there, and then, a lot of people cover food in the area, and they just kind of I call it the human centipede, where they just keep going to the same places, and then it's just like, oh, I went there too, and then it's just, no one goes outside of the box. But I grew up in Bushkill Township. It was corner stores,
right?
And it was always like, my one buddy from Philly would be like, dude, it's not a bodega, but I always call it bodegas, corner stores, and I feel like once you hit Nazareth, it's a corner store, and then everything up towards the Poconos is the same. So my one buddy was like, dude, you should just start going to places and doing reviews at these corner stores, because nobody ever goes into these places that is covering media in the Valley. Right. And I was hiking with Aquila, and she was talking about wanting to stop there, and she was like, oh, go to this place. And I was dying to get just a sandwich and go into somewhere, because when I grew up, it was Gastoni's, and you could go in there and Mr. Gastoni would, hey, you want an Italian hoagie? You want this? You want that? Wrestlers has the pre-mades, but when I'm coming back from hiking, I like to have something that's on the way, and there isn't anything really from Jacobsburg around that area to get food. It's everything's either a restaurant, it's open, or I got to go too far into Wing Gap. So that's when I came in and I was dying for a salami sandwich, which you brought me today. Thank you. And we got introduced to each other, and we hit it off right off. But then the vibe of the store was so much fun because like a cop came in and everyone was just bullshitting, busting each other's balls.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, man, like this isn't around anymore. Like, because there was so many of those when I grew up. It was what was the one in Morristown? It was Rinkers.
Yeah, on
and
the
like,
corner.
Yeah, so like I grew up, my mom would take me there. Bajans is my first job I ever had, where it was like these local stores where it's like you have a relationship with like the butcher and the owner.
Yeah.
And I've been missing that for so long and didn't know. And then I came in and got a breakfast sandwich and I made some videos and I was like, we need to podcast because you started telling me your story a little bit. And I know it's a winded intro, but I'm passionate about telling your story because I think it's so cool because I was in similar shoes. But where that corner spot, what is the history of that spot? Because you had worked there before you took over, but like what was that spot always?
It's always been what was a general store when there was a dirt road.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool. And then it's always been family. It was a penny candy.
Yes.
And then a woman named Michelle had it when I moved here 19 years ago. And then the previous owner before me was Wanda and Tony Choida, which they're great people. They live in the house.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because there's still the upstairs.
No, it's a whole house.
Oh, so it's an entire house?
Yeah.
That's crazy that's what they used to do before.
Yeah.
Like how they had the stores.
And then their son was starting college and stuff, and they wanted to get rid of the store. So come February 2020, I was like, why not? Went through a divorce. I had kids. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let them think I can go from being a stay-at-home mom. What's mom going to do?
And you'd been working there for how long before?
When they had it. So total years there, including the 3 years, almost 3 years, probably 17 years.
Were you doing anything before that, or you just kind of picked that up as a job and then just fell in love with it?
I just worked lunches.
Yeah.
Then I'd be home for the kids when they got home from school while they were in school.
Have you always worked in the industry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bartended down in South Jersey.
Because I didn't realize when we started talking, because Miguel's is across the street.
Yes, and I worked at Miguel's when I first moved here, doing lunches when they were open for lunches. And then my son worked there. Miguel's a great guy. The food's wonderful.
Yeah. It's a good vibe over there.
It is.
I like it.
It's super fun.
Yeah, it's laid back. When you go in there, we like to sit at the bars on Fridays when Neil's doing keyboard.
Yeah, and then Michelle works there. She's been there a really long time.
Because they really only have 2 waitresses, which is smart because then they make, they make a lot of money and then they're loyal to it.
Oh, gosh.
And I know Crystal that's over there, one of the bartenders. Yeah. Miguel's is a great time, especially in the summer, sitting out on the porch, margaritas.
Yeah, nice little breeze.
Yeah. So you were always in and out of the industry, or you just always in it?
I was always in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether it be bartending, serving.
You're either just cut out for it or you're not.
You are.
Yeah.
You either got a set of balls or you don't.
Yep. Yeah. I always grew up, I had 3 brothers, and then I grew up in like the 80s and the 90s, so it was like if you grew up in the 80s, 90s, you definitely have to have thick skin. It was just me and my brothers fighting all the time, and then how I was with my friends is we just constantly ragged on each other, constantly. Where then when you do that to somebody else, they're like, "What are you doing?" And then they like look at you, and I'm like, "Oh, you're not used to that." So like when I got into cooking. And especially with being in the kitchen, like you need, and then when you get out to the bar and you're a bartender and you start, I've had drinks thrown in my face. It's,
I never had a drink. I've enjoyed kicking people out.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're either cut out for it or you're not. So then you developed this relationship, working over at the corner store there. And then you were there for 17 years.
16 and then about 17. Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's really cool. The people are outstanding. Like I would just do my 3 hours, go home.
Yeah.
And until I really got there and took it over, it's amazing how cool the little areas, this whole area. Like people got your back. Yeah. Like I needed someone to paint. People came in and just started painting. Didn't even charge me. The state troopers are absolutely great. They come in. Yeah,
that's great that those guys. They're like their own, like you. As soon as he was just hammering you guys.
Oh my God! Did you hear what he said to me?
Yeah, what did he say about the menu or something?
Don't tell her what you want. You have to draw it. She'll get it wrong. I'm like, yep. Thank you.
And then what's funny is after he left, you were like, if he didn't say that, I was putting the wrong thing on your sandwich.
I forgot the pickles.
Yeah. I love that though. I mean, like I said, I grew up with that. Gastone's, like, we used to always go in there, and then, like, you know, he would run out from behind the counter, and he always knew our parents. What's funny is, like, we would try and buy cigarettes, and then by the time we'd ride our bikes home, my mom would be like, Mr. Gastone, and we'd be like, no. Like, that guy just called and lied about cigarettes. Yeah, so, like, when you're there, were you doing the type of food you are now, or was it just kind of like a little bit less and it was more of a general store?
It was more of a general store. We did do lunches and stuff.
Yeah.
But then I love to cook.
Yeah.
How'd
you get into that? Were you doing it when you were younger?
I've always loved it. Mm-hmm. When I was in high school, I worked at an Italian restaurant. It was a family-owned. It was a friend of mine. They had me in the kitchen, which was kind of scary. But
no, it's very intimidating.
Just being around food,
yeah,
it just gets to you. You either like it or you don't.
Yeah.
And then I always loved cooking for, like, family and stuff. And I'm like, now I can do it for other people. And and that's what I love to do. Soups.
I love, I want to get into more of what you want to do, but there's a part of it where it gets a little wonky, so then you take over ownership of the store, and then the pandemic hits.
February 23rd was my first day open. Let's fast forward 3 weeks. COVID.
Yeah.
Things start shutting down. Luckily, I had bread and milk, so I was essential.
Which I'm sure, well, how was it then? Because I've had so many people on where, you know, mostly everyone kind of finds a positive where, like, you either were able to do things differently with your business that are, like, changes now, or, you know, people lose their business. So in the beginning, was it a lot of people coming in to get their groceries and stuff because the grocery stores were so bare, or what was the kind of the first?
It was scary as hell.
Yeah.
People came in. I think it was more people came in just to talk.
Yeah.
A lot of people just hung out and talked. You know,
because that's kind of the vibe of the place too. It's kind of like a clubhouse.
It is.
Yeah.
You get the little guys that come in the morning for their coffee.
Yep. The landscapers and stuff just trying to grab an extra 5 minutes before they got to go to a job.
The kids that come in during their lunch break at school.
Oh, you get that too?
Yeah, I get the high school kids.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
So it was basically, you know, I did what I had to do. If you needed groceries, I'll go to Giant and grab you because you don't want to go to the Giant. A lot of people were scared to go, and I was at the store all the time.
Yeah.
Different stores, so to me it was not a big deal. I was going to be there. We brought food out to people in their cars.
Yeah. A lot of that.
Yeah. Delivered to the high school because the teachers couldn't leave. So I started doing that.
Forget about how crazy it was.
It was insane.
And then there was like it was like, because normally there's always like a black and white with things, and then there's like, you know, with that it was like there was like a weird lane where, like, you could get into, and then like it was kind of like this unspoken thing where I don't know if we should be doing this, but you had to do that in order to keep your business open. And
you also didn't know what people were comfortable with.
No.
That was like, you had emotions all over the place from people who, family members had COVID, people who
didn't believe in it.
Yeah. I mean, it was, and you know, you just have to be a sympathetic ear and listen, and we always try to make people laugh.
Yes.
Like, that's a big thing. Because you know what?
That's all I ever try and do.
Yeah, because if you're not happy, then you know what?
Yeah.
So I make sure someone always leaves, at least, even if it's getting made fun of.
Yes.
People enjoy that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, every time I've been in there so far, it's always been kind of the same reaction where it's just like, you know, the last time I was in, it was like the lawn guys were in there, or like landscapers, and they were just dicking around. And, you know, you could tell there was like a new guy with him, and he was like, oh, well, this is where we stop for lunch. But I mean, I've been that guy. I've been the guy who was, you know, we did tree work for forever, and you're like thankful for spots like yours because it breaks up the monotony of eating at a gas station. And like, people always argue like, what's better, Sheetz or Wawa? And I'm like, work in an industry where you have to stop and get breakfast and lunch every morning, and if you do that for a month, you do not like gas station food at all. Like, that stuff's cool to like pop in, or now I appreciate it on road trips because I don't go to it that much anymore. But like, working in that industry when you're outside and you have to grab a quick lunch, you appreciate running into a spot like yours because it's food. It's not what they're serving at Sheetz.
And you can tell
or
the
Wawa.
difference.
No, even the last time I went to Sheetz and got a hot dog, I threw it out.
Did you?
Yeah, it was terrible.
How do you screw up a hot dog?
Yeah, a lot of people do. A lot of people do. You can undercook a hot dog and it's still good. But Sheetz's hot dogs are, I mean, I should have known paying whatever it was, you know, because it's like they like 2 for $2 or some bullshit like that, or 2 for $1. But I'm a big fan of, like, I will always argue with people that if you make gas station, or if you make like roller hot dogs correctly and like give a fuck about them,
they have a little
great.
They have a little crunch
great.
to it.
Yeah. And like when they have like the steamed buns and like the and like you have to use the tongs. If you give a shit about that and you have an employee who's like bored and like that his job at even 7-Eleven is he controls that and it's not just thrown out there for 3 days, I will appreciate that and eat it. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's, like I said, when you're out and there's nowhere to get food and you're just going to these corporate gas station spots, it's like when you run into something like that, it's like, man, like it scratches such an itch for me to get like real food.
And you can tell it makes a difference because the people come in and they're repeat customers.
Yeah.
Or they'll be like, next time we're in the area working, we'll be in. And it's a really good feeling.
Yeah, I'm sure it feels awesome when you got, well, I did my first pop-up in a while yesterday, and I always love when they come up and they're like, what's up with the burger? And I'm never like, this is awesome. I'm like, hey, it's this, and this. I said, it's hamburger from a butcher. And then, Locals don't always like, that's the best thing you'll ever have. But that's what he believes is my burger is. And then the guy got it, and they're always like hesitant, like they're like going to give me a review. And I'm like, I don't care if you buy it or not. So the guy got it, and then he came back and he's like, I want another one. And then yes. Yeah, but then they can't hide that face of like, dude, it would have been fine if you were like, hey, I'll just try your burger. But like you came up and made it weird. And then now, but like that's what I love though, is that they, out of the awkwardness, they still come back, and then they'll be like, and then sometimes Gina will be like, you sure you don't want to? Yeah. But it's cool when you get that. And then you have, like, there was people that came out yesterday that drove all the way up to Jim Thorpe just to have the food.
Wow.
And it's like when you start getting people like your regulars and that, and like it's almost like it starts building this small family where I'm sure you see it more because it's brick and mortar. So it's like, it's a faster turnaround than me having to do something every other month. But like, it's got to feel good when you start seeing people, like even I've been there for 3 times now or 4 times, and I get excited in the parking lot. I'm like, I hope she's here. Like, It's just the interaction besides the food.
Yeah. And it does, it makes you feel good. And it makes me feel good knowing that people are happy. Like we have a lot of like the elderly people that come in, get their newspaper. Who buys a newspaper?
Do they get a lot of the dinners?
No, I don't think they realize I have them because they don't have social media.
Or they're asleep at 6.
Hey, I'm not asleep too long after, so shut up.
You're fine. So now when you start doing the pandemic stuff and you're running the food out everywhere, and then you kind of get into a groove, and then like they kind of start opening things up again, like where's your decision to kind of start moving the business around during that time? Because you're doing way more food and it's more of a food thing than what it originally was. So it's not really, I like that the stuff in there is just the stuff that sells. Like I think there was like something where you only picked up a couple things because one person comes in and gets it. I don't know if it was cigarettes or something.
Cigarettes. Yeah. I only buy them for customers that I know need them because if it's
a waste of money to just have cigarettes sit there.
It's like $10 a pack. Why am I gonna? So I figure out who needs what, and I go and get them. And if it's 2 days before, I'll get 3 packs of cigarettes, and they're set for 3 days.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
I like that though, because then that's like it's you have your regulars coming in to do it, and then you had like the chips in the back and stuff, and then I was like,
then there's some groceries.
But I also like that from the standpoint of like a lot of times like customers dictate what somebody has, not in the sense of the cigarettes or what we're talking about, but like, oh, I gotta have everything in here, and then that's when you start like losing. Like I've seen a bunch of people open up delis where like they tried to do the corner store and they had milk, shampoo, and they had all this stuff and it never sold. And then you have to pay for everything in the store. Like that's what I think people don't realize. It just doesn't show up. No. So it's like, I like that you control your menu. I like that you control the other things that are in there, like drinks, whatever. They're going to go with the food. But like, I like that you didn't overly have like mac and cheese boxes that have been sitting there with dust on them, or like, because Gastone's was like that, where he had so much stuff in there, and then over the years the big chains open up, or like there's a Five Below opens up, and then they have everything you can get. So it's like, why would you continue to keep these things on your shelves for maybe even if one person wanted it a month? It's not worth losing the money on it.
No, and most of the stuff that's on the shelf I'll use if I need it. Like, oh, I'm out of ketchup, I'll take that one off the shelf. So it kind of, serves a dual purpose. Someone needs ketchup, you can get it.
I like that. I like business owners looking at more as what they need over what the customer needs, because the customer is going to get what they want with the food and everything else and how it is in there. But if you start crossing a line where you are just dedicated to having every option for everybody, like, everyone always hammers me about vegan stuff and all that, and I'm like, maybe I'll look into that, but I'm not building a vegan menu out and losing money on it, and like having these things, like if there's things that I can double use, like the kitchen we're looking at is like, I want to have things that are going to work multiple purposes. Right. So it's like, like you can sell lunch meat, but you could also have sandwiches, like stuff like that. And if you don't pay attention to that, you can go in the red and completely lose your business just because you're trying to make everybody happy. Yeah,
like the lunch meat we get from Dietz and Watson twice a week. Can't get it any fresher.
Yeah.
So I don't overbuy. So if I'm out of turkey on a Thursday, we're getting it in Friday.
Yep.
It'll come back.
Yeah. That's another thing too, is like you got to just watch. Well, I don't know. The food, it takes a crazy person to want to do it. And I mean that in a good way. But like what you said, it's like you got to be built to do it. Like you got to like make tough decisions, and you got to make things around. And like when you got out of kind of the pandemic, like what was that like, getting the business back up to a point? Because I mean, I'm sure it was a whirlwind.
It was. And then, it was kind of a blur.
Yeah. And then you got to kind of build from... Well, that was 2 years.
It was starting all over from a business I just started.
What was that like?
So it was, like, I kind of just kept going.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't stop. I mean, I needed to do it. I loved what I do. I knew people liked the food. Just getting through, like, the prices of everything.
Yeah.
Delivery. Really? It's that much now? It's crazy, but you adjust and you make the best of what you can. And it's fun.
What were kind of the biggest changes that you thought what happened after kind of you got back on your feet? Because like you said, you had to kind of build this. What's crazy is you open it and then you have to make some kind of makeshift business for 2 years. And then after those 2 years, you got to kind of go back to what you thought you were going to do.
Yeah.
Like, did your idea completely change at that point? Or were you like, all right, let's focus on this now because people can come in here and no one's getting yelled at for doing specific things?
It was the customers that came in knew what to expect. They know I'm pretty easygoing. Let's just roll with it. I'm going to try my best to give you the best product I can. It was hard figuring out how much product to make and how much product not to make. I mean, that was a big thing, because am I going to sell out of pork? Do I need to make a 10-pound pork butt so it doesn't sit? So, like, I'll combine it as a sandwich, and now I combine it with mashed potatoes, so you have options to get the specials. So instead of just having the sandwich, someone doesn't want a sandwich, well, I'll get it with mashed potatoes. So you learn that way.
Yeah. Was that right away, or was that kind of like a couple times where it's like,
it took a couple times where I'm like, here's 5 pounds of pork.
You start calling
what
the neighbors.
The hell?
Yeah.
I know. So, it's a learning experience. And at my age, God help me.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, with doing pop-ups, it's very similar.
Yeah.
Like where it's like, hey, how many burgers should we take?
You don't
know how many people are going to come in. And then with us, it's like, we have a commissary kitchen through Giacomo's, but I'm not leaving food there.
No.
So it's like.
And then you feel bad running out.
Yeah.
But you can't. Running out's not like, I ran out of corned beef and cabbage on St. Patrick's Day by 12:15.
That's wild.
Oh, I had people ordering for nighttime for dinners. And then I'd have the lunch people come in there like, you don't have any? I'm like, I'm really, really sorry.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it was good. I sold out.
Because it's kind of like a hard thing to do because like what would happen to us is we would go and like, we used to just bring 50 burgers and then we would sell out and we'd be like, hell yeah. And then we'd be like, but people would be mad at us. And then so we started bringing more. And then what happened is one time we brought 200. and then nobody bought anything.
And it bites you
and
in
it was
the
like the
ass.
first time where like we sold like maybe 75, and then we had 125 burgers left, and I'm like, Gina, what do we do? And at that point I didn't know if they could freeze.
Right.
I didn't, I know now what I can do with it because I had to call the butcher, and he's like, you can freeze that for no more than a week. And he's like, I'm like, oh, all right. And then but then the way I am is like I have to freeze it myself, take it out, thaw it, and cook it, and make sure it tastes the same before I start offering it to people again.
Exactly.
But then I don't have freezer space, so it's like it's this weird dynamic where now it's like where Gina always talks me off the ledge because I like hanging over it, and then I'll be like, what do you think we should do this? And she's like, look, this is what happened last time, this is what we need to do, let's make X amount of money and then let's do it again, and if we think we can move it up a little bit more, we will, but for the meantime let's not kill ourselves because because what happens is even if we still make a profit, that feeling of having that leftover food is not fun.
Or then having that person that wanted the food and is disappointed.
Yeah,
I feel horrible.
Yeah.
It's like
such
really,
a double-edged sword.
It is.
Because if you have too much, it's a battle on the ride home.
Yeah.
It's the battle on the ride home where you're like, man, like I lost money on that. What am I going to do with this? I already have food in the freezer. Like, and then you try and make things up like, oh, well, I'll just do this and that. But it's like, it never sits well with me.
No.
But then if I sell out, I'll be like, man, you see that? Like there was one time we were doing a jiu-jitsu tournament, and the guy drove all the way from like Jersey just for the burger, and he was with his kid, and he promised his kid the burger, and the guy before him in line got the last burger.
No.
And then I think somebody because people will buy 2 or 3, and then I think somebody heard it and went over and gave the kid the cheeseburger, but the dad didn't get it, and then like they walk away, and Gina was like, that was rough. And I was like, it was terrible.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I know.
So what do you do now? I mean, obviously you've gotten up and going since the pandemic, and you're kind of finding your rhythm, and I do want to get back to like how you do the specials and all that stuff, but like what was that like for you to find that gear where you know what to order, or haven't you figured it out yet, or like do you have it close enough now where it's not too bad?
Dietz and Watson I've got down.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thankful they come twice a week because I don't have to over order.
Yeah.
As far as the other food, I go to Giant, I go to Weiss. I don't go through R&R. I don't go to the restaurant store. I'll go to Sam's and grab stuff.
Yeah.
But I like to see it because you don't know what you're getting. You don't know if it was frozen.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what they froze at Giant, but at least in my mind, it wasn't frozen. So it was never frozen. That works for me.
Yeah. When we started going around, that was one thing I've always worked with food purveyors, and that's another avenue that could completely destroy a business where they start making you buy a specific amount of things. So I like that you go out and you do your own thing. 'Cause it's almost like how we do the pop-ups where it's like, I'll get, I have a relationship with Sailors through a mutual friend of Tim, and I had him on the podcast. And when we became friends, I just liked his product. So it's like I'll get my hamburger from him, and then like when we started doing stuff with Giacomo's, and I started working with Sal, and then I was like, you know what? I'm like, we could add Giacomo's sausage as an add-on, and then Sal grills them till they're almost done, does the onions and peppers, and we put them in a crock pot, and I take his vodka sauce and dump it on top. Now I'm advertising for him, and we're both working, but like I could have went and got sausage from the restaurant store or anywhere else, but it's like now because I'm working with a smaller person, it's more unique. I'm helping them out, he's helping me out, and like sometimes I also think that if somebody's going to these purveyors, is everybody's food taste the same? Yeah,
no, I make everything. The pork loin, I made 20 pounds of pork loin for the special.
Yeah, you showed me a picture. It looked awesome.
Chicken breast for the grilled chicken sandwiches. I don't get them frozen, and I make them. Pulled pork, the pork butt in the oven. Meatloaf, all homemade, no breadcrumbs. So whoever, what is it, gluten-free?
Yeah.
With the meatballs and the meatloaf are no breadcrumbs. Homemade mac and cheese, which people love.
Yeah, what was the first thing that you started putting in there? Because I feel like you do have a following that comes in for the dinners and the different things. What was the first thing you did that you were kind of like, hey, I should start just making my stuff and then putting it in here for dinners and whatnot?
Meatloaf.
Meatloaf?
10 pounds of meatloaf sold out in 3 hours.
So were you just doing deli sandwiches and then we're like...
No, we did have hot food.
So you went, soups, I added
more.
Yeah.
I made the homemade meatballs. I made 10 pounds of meatballs, 10 pounds of meatloaf, sausage, peppers, onions are all made, homemade.
Where did that come from? Did that come from you wanted more on your plate? Did that come from...
I was bored.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is like, did that come from just creatively? Because I see the stuff that you do and how you present it, and after just having conversations before the podcast and now is like, you genuinely enjoy putting your love for food into the food. Like you have a passion for it.
I have a passion for cooking. You could ask any of my kids. Their friends would always come over for food. If there's a place to eat, let's go to Kate's house. Let's go to,
You never minded making food for everybody.
No, and I don't really. I like smelling it, and I'll pick, but I'm not but I love watching people like it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when someone tells you, like, hey, that was a great burger, it makes you feel really good.
It does.
And it does sound stupid to some people.
I think that some people who don't cook, and what I fell in love with is, and like when we were talking about stuff, you're like, man, I love that you're so passionate about it. But like, to me, it was like, I creatively found something that like, if you are in a good mood and you're making food and you give it to somebody, as opposed to if you're pissed off and you rush it and you give it to somebody, there's two different reactions you're getting from that. When you make something and you have a recipe for it, and that all comes from a genuine place of you thoroughly are in love, and you're listening to music and even having a beer or a glass of wine, and you're making food, and then you give that to somebody, when you see someone's reaction, they tasted that. Yes. Like, you know what I mean? Like that guy coming back from the burger, I'm like, yeah, I'm sure a lot of it has to do with the ingredients, but also how I make that, the timing on it, when I pull it off, when I put it on, that's all from me giving a shit about how that is. Yep. And like the guy came back and was like, that was so good. It's not like it's just good. It's like people are having an experience when they eat the food. And when I started experiencing that through having other people's food, that's when you start immediately being like, oh, you care. Oh, you care. Like even when I had the salami sandwich and did that video, like I don't do the videos often because sometimes I just feel silly doing them because I'm in my van talking to a phone.
It made me laugh.
But
I loved
it. But like that's my natural reaction. But I wanted a salami sandwich so bad, but like the amount of meat that was on it was so much. The provolone, the mustard, the mayonnaise, the pickles, everything I put on it, I was like, man, they really got this down because the two of you in there give a shit about what you're doing.
That's what
and that's hard to find as well, because you could have a great product and then you have younger kids in there who are like, yeah, whatever, I'm just getting out of here. But like,
yeah, like the woman Chris, she's a friend of mine. I've worked with her before I took over, and she does all the baking. She makes homemade cakes.
Yeah, I think I had like the cobbler or the crisp.
The crisp.
Yes. Yeah.
And you can tell she loves baking.
Absolutely.
And she knows all the customers, and she's a good friend. And talk about, you have to trust people. It's a main, especially people you work with.
Yeah.
And I trust her. I mean, she knows what our customers like. And she'll give me feedback if I'm not there, or if she sees something and I see something. It's good.
Yeah, sometimes the less people you work with, too, it's that you can keep a tighter... like that tighter, like, hey, this person wanted this. Hey, this person liked this. Oh, did you see this person come in? Oh, they always do like it a little bit this way.
She remembers everyone's orders.
It's her day. It's her day.
She remembers everyone's orders. I am horrible.
Yeah.
I had someone call.
Well, that's what the officer was making fun of you for.
Yeah, Sean Ahern. Yeah, because all of a sudden he likes tomatoes on his chef salad. He never liked tomatoes.
Yeah.
I had someone call for an order for a hot dog, and they asked for something on it. And I hung up and I didn't write it down.
Yeah.
I had to call them back because I totally forgot what they wanted. And I'm like, I have caller ID. I forgot what you said. And everyone just laughs.
Yeah. But that's the vibe in there is like, you're going to get.
I knew I could call them back.
Your chops broken. Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
If that's the worst thing that's going to happen, I'm good.
What was that like to start doing your own food in there and you saw it taking off? Because I'm sure when you put out the meatloaf, you don't know what's going to happen, or the meatballs, but like when that goes in a day, because I know the feeling of moving food like that, it's wild. But like, what was that like for you? Because now you have a new lane, like, you know what I mean? Like now you have a lane of it's not just you're doing your thing. Now you have a whole lane where you get to cook, and now you're bringing what you gave to the kids and all that. And now it's coming over here, and now you're giving it to all the customers.
It's like full circle.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like
that's the coolest part about doing the interviews is when you catch stuff like that, where it's like, oh, well, you're now able to do what you were doing for the neighborhood kids and your children, and now giving that to a community of people who want to come into your store.
Yeah.
What's that like?
It really shows that, perseverance. If you keep doing what you love to do. If you don't like what you're doing, don't do it. Like, that's my thing. I loved working. I love cooking food. And I think it does show. And it makes me feel good, and it makes the other people feel good. So
yeah, it is important
and be
to pay
nice.
attention if you don't like what you're doing.
God, you see so many people.
It's terrible.
I see people come in, and it's just like...
Yeah, when you work in that industry, you start seeing like people taking their break of life in your store.
Well, I bartended before, so I saw that. It's true. Like, I'll have milk crates. People will flip them over.
And just sit down?
Yeah, and it's nice. And you hear things.
You're a therapist now.
And you hear things you don't want to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you know what? If it makes them feel good, I'll listen.
Yeah. I like that about the store though, because you can hang out in there if you want.
Oh, you can.
And you can kind of like, I'm sure you
pull
get.
up a milk
I'm
crate.
sure you get. Like we used to, when I was at the cheesesteak shop, it was like we would get a lot of. There was a guy who used to bring his tractor over, and then he'd be like, "Oh, can I eat lunch here?" And then it was just an older guy, but then there was just sometimes people just come into places like that for company.
Yeah.
And then sometimes people come in because, like I said, they're there on their break from work and like they want to kind of just hang out a little bit, or if they're there early in the morning. Like we used to get up earlier to go get breakfast sandwiches at the spots. And then it's like now you kind of have that little bit of time. You don't realize kind of like how much effect and how much importance a place like yours is to so many different people across the board. Mm-hmm. It's wild when you really think about like what your store is to the community over there.
They'll come in the morning for their coffee, take a peek at the newspaper, look at the news, just say, how's you doing? How you doing? Do you want a breakfast sandwich? And then they go leave with a smile, or they'll say, see you later. And they get to talk to each other. So it's cool.
What's most of the traffic that comes in and out of there? Do you get people from Jacobsburg? Is it just kind of, because to me, that's the closest thing to get food.
A lot of the workers come in.
Yeah.
From Jacobsburg.
Yeah.
So I hear the stories about like the different events they have going on there, it's amazing what they do there.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
When I moved out of the area, I thought there was like Jacobsburgs everywhere, and there isn't.
No.
And then when I got back to the area, I was like, you should start going over here. And even in the winter, like I might go today with Aquila, but I don't know. Like it's 37 degrees out, but
I just moved it.
You're all right. That's perfect.
Okay.
But like it's a special place over there.
It is. I go there on Sundays, but I don't exercise. I find a little rock. It's by the water. No one can see me, and then I'll see all like the athletic runners.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, see you. And then I just go there. I watch the water. It's just a peaceful place to think and get your
It's always a reset for me. My
definitely.
parents used to take us over there when we were kids. My grandmother took us over there, and we used to have picnics. It was the first place I had sour cream and onion potato chips, which is usually why I get that with like a lunch, is because I would just remember that moment of eating, like it was probably like
neat.
Charles chips or something back in the day.
Yeah.
But my grandmother would watch us, which she was probably my age, and then she would take us down over by the water and would have picnics over there.
It's neat. There's so much to do there.
Yeah. And then I always just grew up. Then when I left, and then I appreciated it more. And when I came back, I make it a point now to go over there as much as I can. And then when your spot, because now Aquila was with me, and she was like, I think I'm going to go over there for a salami sandwich today. And that's our big thing, is like, we just talk about eating salami sandwiches.
Well, you're exercising. You have to eat after.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, that's the thing, though, is like if I skip breakfast and then go there, I want to stop somewhere. Even if I'm grabbing a sandwich to go on the way home, or if I'm there early and I want to do breakfast, it's like, it's just kind of a unique spot. What other traffic do you pick up off that road? Because it is kind of like we were talking, it was like it's a unique spot because it's right off the highway, but then it's like kind of hidden on, because what road is that?
Belfast Road.
Yeah.
And then there's the building ASCO, and there's two new buildings on 191 right down the road. So we got a bunch like Frick Transportation, they come in a lot.
Yeah.
We do get a lot of people on their way to the Poconos off 33.
That's cool.
Well, they don't know the store exists. They're just like,
Yeah.
oh, hey,
Yeah.
stop in.
Do you get any like the Amazon people or like the
Oh,
new,
yeah, the delivery guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, they come in a lot, especially during Christmas. They'd be like, do you know where this address is? I'm like, yeah, just leave it here. I'll get it to them.
Yeah, that's cool. So have you noticed a pop since you started doing the food and like really doing like once because I feel like once you added in what you're doing now with your specials and your different things in that, I feel like that's from what I view it as is that's when it became Kate's Corner. So
It was, well, because of 2 years of not being able
to do that.
I didn't know who I was dealing with as far as, the audience. Like I would post on Facebook, but what do the people want to see on Facebook? It's COVID. They're not going to go out. So now that everything is open and I know what people enjoy and I figured out social media.
Yeah.
Because I am horrible.
It's not easy at all.
No, especially no.
Using social media for a business is it's very difficult.
Oh God, Yelp. Oh yeah, I'm on that. I was so proud of myself. I figured that out. I get a Google review. I get all happy. I'm like, oh, I have to respond right away.
What was that like for you to have to deal with all that kind of stuff?
I think the hardest part was probably the startup dealing with all the licenses. Yeah. Because 3 weeks after I opened, I couldn't talk to anyone in the government because no one answered the phone. It was horrible. It was horrible. So that was probably the biggest thing, was figuring out which tax ID number because they gave me 2 by accident.
Oh man, so that's the crap. And then it's not like you can just call and be like, "Hey, by the way,"
and then
trying to contact Harrisburg,
and then it's like who? And then no one was working because of COVID.
Yeah.
So I couldn't talk to anyone till like that September, and then I got stuff figured out. So probably the hardest thing was the social media. It's easy to cook for me. Yeah. I enjoy it. Someone always likes something. Big ziti people, that's a Wednesday staple.
Yeah, what are your staples for? Let's go over like kind of what you developed into like your menu and kind of like what your staples are for the week. Well, because I know you changed it up. I do. But it does look like you keep...
Sundays, I put the menu up. Wednesdays, definitely ziti because I know there's certain people that will get it on Wednesdays. Yeah. If people ask me, can you do meatballs next Thursday? I'll do meatballs next Thursday.
That's fun,
but
though.
I also...
Listening to the customers like that.
Yeah, but it also depends on what's on sale at the store before I can do the specials. Like, I'll do the specials every Sunday night. So I don't know until Sunday, except that for ziti.
So do you do your shopping on Sunday and then kind of see what's for sale and then base your specials on that? I do it all week.
Yeah. And pick up what I can.
Yeah, we were talking before. You don't stop driving around.
No. Oh my God, it's horrible. I know that I talk to those machines at Giant, the self-checkouts.
Yes.
I try. They're not nice.
No.
So like the homemade soups. Soups are the only thing that vary every day.
Did you always make soups growing up and stuff?
No.
Yeah. I think Gina started trying to get into soups because we know we're going to have to.
They're easier than you think. Yeah. And I don't use recipes for any of my food. So don't ask how I make it.
Yeah, like, I like that though.
The rice pudding, I don't know. I just put sugar and I don't know how much. I don't measure anything.
It's cooking. Like we said, that's not baking.
No, I would be scared to do that. Yeah. So the soups are homemade, but soups are so much easier than people think. You can make a homemade soup in 20 minutes if you wanted to at your house, and you just need the ingredients. Yeah. And kind of have to know what you're doing as far as taste-wise.
Do you run the soups all year, or do you just do it in the fall? Or?
All year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your biggest seller for soups?
Chicken noodle.
Of course.
Ham and bean. Broccoli cheddar is a big one sometimes, but it depends. Sometimes people like the loaded potato, and sometimes
I forgot about loaded potato.
Oh my God, that's the best. But then sometimes it'll sit, and then that doesn't sit long. You can't keep that.
No.
So vegetable beef people like. People are pretty easy with soups. Yeah. They either hate it or they love it.
So you got the soups going in there. What do you do? And you got your ziti on Wednesdays. Hot dogs. That's a day, right?
Hot dogs. Actually, we are having this Friday. Yeah. Hot dog platter with 2 sides. Homemade mac and cheese is all the time. We sell it by the pound, half pound, but they come in microwavable containers.
Do you get a lot of people buying your food that way, like to take home?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's cool too, where like somebody can stop in there and like pick. It's old school.
It is.
It's what people used to
If there's
do
leftover
before Giant
specials.
and all that stuff.
Yeah, if there's leftover specials, you can come in after you get off work or call and say, is there any specials left over? I'll save them for you. I mean, if you order in the morning time, I'll hold you some.
It's crazy how that's such a unique thing anymore when it's what used to be how things were. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what's crazy is like you kind of just add an old flair or things like where you're just like, why aren't people doing this the way it was? And then everyone's like, wow, it's so cool that you do this. And it's like, this is how it used to be.
And if anything, there's more
before Weiss opened.
And if anything, there's more of a need because people are so busy.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, kids' sports, school, work. It's like, it's easy to do. Order ahead.
Yeah. I do that at Giacomo's where I'll go in there and like when we get sausage for pop-ups, it's like I usually order a little bit more because then there's leftover. But then, you know, or if we don't use all the vodka sauce, and then it's like I'll just take the sausage and then we freeze it, and then me and Gina will be like, oh, like let's do this, and then like, you know, I always like getting extra stuff from spots or being able to stop over there. Like I didn't know you had extra stuff or could do that, or you know, the mac and cheese, and it's like, you know, now I could stop and like pick that up going over to my mom's on a Sunday, or like that's also I really like to enjoy is when people are like, because it showcases in another aspect where like if I'm going to a party and I'm like, oh, well, I'll just grab her mac and cheese, or because my mom always has stuff and she tries to always control the cooking. Still, I've been trying to take it over.
Do that.
I gave up this year where I'm like, I got away with it last year and she let me set up and I did breakfast for everyone, but she still had to make something. And I'm like, just let me do it. I enjoy doing it. So like now it's like, you know, I could stop over there and get the mac and cheese and then just come over to my mom's, and like I like doing that and bringing like, you know, because then like my sister-in-laws will be like, oh, where'd you get this from? And then I'm like, oh, there's this lady who's got this corner store, I did a podcast with her, and then it's like, oh, that's awesome. Like I like sharing experiences with other people, so to be able to pick up food like that,
I appreciate,
you know, I mean, or anyone can do it, but like, you know, to go over there and get extra meatloaf, or like, you know, I also like that you're doing the dinners and stuff, because sometimes I go down to Wegmans, but like to me it's like I'd rather support somebody doing something like this. I'm not going to have to deal with what $248 is absurd.
Oh, crazy.
Absolutely absurd. They're like, let's put more stuff here.
Why?
You can't, once December hits, I don't even head down that
and no
way.
one stops at stop signs.
No, not at all.
And then I was just like, really?
It's wild over there. Absolutely wild. But it's cool to be able to get stuff like that and be able to share it with others.
Yeah, and you could do party trays and stuff.
So you guys do catering?
Yeah, I started doing that. I had a bunch. Dave Betts, he does Uncle Smiley, the band.
Yeah.
He's funny. He had ordered some, and then from him telling people and people attending his party, I've been getting a bunch. You know, baby showers. Like everyone loves the mac and cheese, so some kid, I guess he had to be in his 20s, he was going to a party.
Yeah.
He's like, can you make a full pan of mac and cheese?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm like,
doing stuff like that, even if you're taking it to a drinking party.
Oh, that's what he did. He came, he was so happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I got it here before, it was great. I'm like, all right.
Catering's fun because if you don't start a catering business, you just start picking up jobs, and then it's like you have to learn how to do it. Like I remember the first time somebody hired us to cater a graduation party, and we have no clue what we're doing. And like we were like I don't know how to price that out.
Oh, that, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, God, yeah.
And then we went there, and I didn't care because it was for a mutual friend, and I also enjoy cooking. But like when we drove home, I said to Gina, I go, we made money, right? And she's like, yeah. And I said, we made good money, right? And she's like, yeah. And I go, you know the money that we got to do this? And she goes, yeah. I go, that would have been for us to drop it off. I said, they basically got us for that price to build a kitchen in their yard and serve people every couple hours, because what we did was like, but we care about food that much where I don't want to give you 200 burgers and you have to figure out how to keep it correct.
I get that.
So like we would make 50 and then oh man, these burgers are great. They're gone. All right, let's make 50 more. Gina would walk up. Hey, let's check that. And I go to her, I go, we should have gotten paid $1,000 each extra. So like for an extra $2,000, we should have got. Yeah. Yes. And I go, and what we should have done was take 50 trays. Like we should have just took the burgers, wrapped them up, put them in trays, and then told them to keep the trays in warm put it in the oven. And we should have charged them for all the supplies, and we should have dropped it off and left instead of us prepping all day, dropping it off. But to me, that's how I learn. I learn from those experiences. If I could sit in a seminar for a month and somebody explain catering and all that, and I still wouldn't have learned as much as I learned. I always tell Gina, I go, it's the ride home. I texted her yesterday. I was like, because she's not doing a lot of the pop-ups with me. She's, I'm doing more pop-ups because I'm bored. She's still focused on like figuring out like the restaurant and stuff. So like I texted her and I'm like, I'm gonna miss you, homie. I'm like, that ride home, the ride home is where you figure everything out. You figure out, hey man, like what do I want to do tomorrow? You want to do this again? What special should we run? Because now it's like I did it yesterday and I'm like, I'm gonna sell burgers this week. I'm like, I'll pick a day this week to do a couple. I'm not doing a lot, but like I just want to make food and do different stuff, and like I enjoy. I don't know. I really enjoy food. And I feel like when I run into people like you and I go into places like that, I like highlighting it and putting it up because I'm like, hey, here's somebody else who's into it this much.
And it's so cool because it's hard to, advertising. Who reads the paper? I mean, you can only do so much Facebook, Instagram.
Because people get sick of seeing the same posts.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I know. And it's like, all right, what can I do from here? I mean, I'm at the store constantly, so there's not much excitement going on unless I start videotaping the customers, which that's a whole...
you could have a TV show doing that.
If anyone watched my security cameras that go straight to my phone, it's hysterical. Yeah. We had these two guys come in, and I always play music, and my music's annoying, and they start dancing. And my son had pulled in, and I'm like, oh my God, here comes my son, keep dancing. And it was like old school music. And they're like going like this, and they're on the floor, they're putting their, and my son walked in and he's like, I know, she already told me you guys will be doing this. And it was hysterical because it's just fun.
Yeah. But you have to pass time, and to get over that and stuff. Just, that's what I like about working at a place like that, or being in a place like that, is it's fun. You're working. Why can't we have fun while we work?
Exactly.
How much catering have you seen a change in, like picking up more catering? Is it something that you're going to start like offering, or are you just kind of picking it up word of mouth?
I doing it word of mouth, but I'm also advertising, like a tray here, a tray there, a sandwich tray. I love doing sandwich trays. I've been doing about 2 a week.
That's cool.
Sometimes, like over Christmas, I made a family's whole Christmas dinner. They picked it up Christmas Eve.
That's awesome.
They weren't going to eat it until Christmas, so I put all the directions on the pan on how to reheat. They got pulled pork, baked ziti, mac and cheese, and a tossed salad. So I had the directions on.
And you're already making all that stuff.
It's all made, yeah.
So it's like for you.
I made extra.
Yeah, I think. I don't know. It's tough to pull it back and forth, but it's like sometimes I prefer the catering. It's way less stressful. Like it's like you kind of just make the stuff. They're coming to pick it up. I mean, as long as you hit your time correctly and you start early enough. Sometimes like where me and Gina, the timing can bite you in the ass. And I've worked at the deli I worked at. We've had some like really. The owner made it super stressful at times, but like. Sometimes where me and Gina would drop stuff off and then we'd high five, and on the ride back I'd be like, man, that was fucking easy.
Yeah.
But if you don't watch your times, it starts like, especially with baking and like doing the bagels, like when
I couldn't even imagine. I'd burn them.
When we first started, like I remember we were like, oh, we'll get up and we'll make the bagels the same day, and then like. I'm like, yo, this is insane. I'm like, we have to make, because I started selling the bagels off of Instagram, and then she's like, cut it off, and we were at 300, and I'm like, we got this. No. And then like we started pulling all the bagels out, and then that was the first time we realized that the temperature change and the humidity. So we had like softball size. The taste was good, but like we're like, what are we doing? And then there's the stress of like, we need to deliver all these, and then because it was like. We had to be here at a specific time, And then people started doing the pickups. So like we've been working all day, and like there's not even time for the bagels to cool down. We're just like throwing them in bags, and we're like, let's get back here. Yeah. And then I looked at her and I was like, that was wild. And that, like, so it can swing that way. But you've had success with the catering so far?
Yeah, luckily, knock on wood.
Yeah.
You know, but like I said, it's cool. You know, if people want to order dinner, just give me 2 days in advance so I can get the fresh product.
Yeah.
I don't have it sitting in the freezer. It's not going to happen like that. If you want something, it's going to take 2 days. I have to buy if you want pulled pork, it's going to take 2 days because it takes 12 hours to cook it.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing. But other than that, it's been good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What are your plans moving forward? Where do you see it going? Where do you see it growing? Like, what do you want? What do you want out of Kate's Corner in 2023?
For no pandemic.
Yeah.
Prices to come down.
Yeah.
Basically, keep it like it is. Make sure the customers are happy. Business pickup, catering pickup. Yeah, definitely.
What do you want to do with food? Do you have anything new that you want to start trying out? Is there new? You know, I saw that pork today. That looked ridiculous. But is there new ventures in food that you're trying to figure out?
No, I find it pretty safe with at home right now, home style cooking.
Yeah.
People aren't really into what I eventually like to get into it. Sure, I would love people just to let me know what they want. I'll try it. Give me a food idea.
I meant, is there new things that you just personally, even if it's home style cooking, like want to get into, like new recipe wise, or like, is there things that you're gonna?
I would like to focus more on people ordering for takeout for dinners. I want to fix your dinners. It's easy.
Yeah.
Take less stress off you, making sure your family has has a dinner.
It's fun. And I think in an aspect like that where, you could almost like put up a menu of like 3 different items and then take orders and then like just have them ready for everybody to pick up.
I did do the pre-made sandwiches before and salads. I didn't like that. Like we had it in a cooler.
Yeah.
They sat.
It's tough because it's like we talked about that and I'm like, well, what are we going to do? And I'm like, well, there's also an aspect of people don't come in and buy it, and then you're throwing food out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then, where do you go from there? So I like sticking to the fresh.
Yeah.
You cover your ass.
I think I don't know. In my opinion, it's either one or the other. Like wrestlers, all they do is pre-made stuff.
Yeah.
They're known for that.
Yeah.
Even breakfast, because they added breakfast on. And I think you can go in there and order a sandwich, but I feel like it's foreign. I've never done that, and I've been in there since I was fucking 15.
Yeah.
I'm 42, so like I've never ordered at the counter. But at a place like yours, to me, it's opposite, where like you're in there to order at the counter, or call. Like I always used to do too is like call it in ahead. I'll call in at Potsy's just because I know that because when we worked at Martin Guitar, we would call in because there'd always be a line, but they were always so thankful because they would rather have people calling in than doing it blindly from people walking in. So that was the other thing too, is like, well, if you want your food to be picked up, why wouldn't you just call it in and be like, hey, I'll be there at noon, instead of I would prefer calling it in over a pre-made sitting out. Yeah,
definitely. I think a lot of people come in the deli just for the entertainment.
I think it's a mix of both.
Yeah.
I think well, I mean, you're probably like a lot of people who make really good food undersell it to themselves.
Yeah, I know.
Like I never, like when that guy was like complimenting me on the burger, I wasn't like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I was just so awkward.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh.
I know. It's like whatever.
And what's crazy is then his wife came back after they were about to leave, and she comes up and she's like, hey, like we ordered 2 and we didn't even come in here for that. And then like we didn't think we were even, because they were kind of like, wow, what's with the pizza? What's with the burger?
Right.
Like you could tell they were just in a mood. And then for their mood to completely change, and then for him to come up and say something twice, and then for his wife to come up and say something, I still was just like, hey, thanks.
I know.
I just like want them away. And
you get almost embarrassed.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. And then we were sitting at the bar because we were figuring out money. And I'm eating a piece of pizza with Local Stone and having a beer, and he's like, how about that guy saying that was the best cheeseburger he's ever had? And I'm still like, walls up.
I know.
Get out of here. Get out of here. I don't know if there's a part of me that thinks, and I don't know if you can relate to it, but like, I don't know if there's a part of me that thinks that if I accept that and start acting differently, my food will change. Because I know people who make things about themselves, and it's I'm like, man, it's never been about me with anything. I make food that I think is going to be good, but like, I want people to eat it, but I'm not here for compliments. I'm not here for.
You're there because you like doing it.
Yeah, like even with the Lehigh Valley Style stuff, when they like asked me to be a part of something that drops, I think in February, and I'm like, they were like, hey, can we have your address? We're sending magazines out, and it's an article published and stuff. Like, I don't accept shine like that. I don't.
No.
I don't do it for that. Like I like having conversations with people like this. I like putting people out onto a platform so people go support other businesses, and it's just, most of the time I can tell people we wouldn't have been able to have this experience like this, but we had this experience in your deli, which is why I wanted to bring you on. But like, it's weird, man. And even up there, I keep telling Gina, I'm like, I'm going to be in the back. I want to talk to anybody. And I'm like, you're already trying to hide behind your work even more than you already do now. And it's like, I don't know. There's a part of me that's like, dude, just step into it. But then there's a part of me that's like, and I don't know if that's how you are, but it's like, do you feel like if you take that on too much, it's going to change you?
I don't think it's that I feel it's going to change me. I'm horrible at taking compliments.
Same.
I'm like, no, really. No, like, I just...
Were you like that even when you used to feed the kids in the neighborhood? Or is that different because they're kids? It's different. Yeah.
But just in life in general, I'm not good at taking...
No,
I know you're not either.
Absolutely
I know.
not.
That's why we get along.
Yeah. No, I'm like that with everything, though.
Yeah,
it's not just food. It's like, I've never been one.
No. All right, so here's the deal. You start getting your ass in the limelight, and I will too. And
I'm trying.
Thank you.
Even with the Lehigh Valley Style thing, like
that's cool.
Yeah. I'll tell you why it's cool for me. It's not because I'm in a magazine. It's not because of anything. It's because my mom has no scale on how to look at me as being successful. My brothers are decorated in the careers they have. My one brother's an electrical engineer. He graduated from Penn State, Maine. My other brother is an extremely highly talented union plumber. And my other brother has a degree in electronics, not electronics. I forget what he got. He got a trade and he took a job and he was overqualified for it. And he ended up working his way up to the owner now wants to open a second business and have my brother and his son run it. Though, like, he's been in the paper for awards in Easton. Those are things that like are attributes that my parents can look at from a generation that has no clue what any of this means. Mm-hmm. So for me to be like, hey, I'm quitting my job at the post office and I'm going to start podcasting full time. And for me running this apparel company that they, in the beginning, they were like, hey, you're not making any money. And my dad would try and break down like brass tacks. Mm-hmm. I'm like, hey, you're not figuring this out. So for me to be like, hey, I was chosen as one of the most influential men in the Lehigh Valley, and they're writing an article and they did a photo shoot and I could hand that to my mom. I feel like that's something I can feel accomplished about, even with opening the restaurant, because I know that like that's something different to me. Like this is something I earned out of building something from nothing. And so like that's why is the only reason I stepped up to accept that, is because I feel like I don't have anything to show my parents that would make sense to them.
That would make sense, but what you do for businesses and the community is huge, but they can't see that because...
As soon as you said that, I inverted that and was like, yeah, it's not that big of a
deal.
Shut
up! Oh no. But it's true.
Yeah.
And what they need to visit, like they're not into the electronics and all that, so you can see... Give them that little magazine article, but you did. I mean, who would have thought I would be sitting here? Not me.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, I just went in and then sometimes I just get excited about the conversations I'm going to have or like where it's going to go. But then when I posted it on Facebook or you reposted the video, the amount of people that like were affected by that and like your daughter and everything else.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I'm like, that's so cool. Like that's when it resonates with me, was like when it makes a ripple, and I don't need my ripple to be big, but it made a ripple. And then I was like, oh, cool. Like that's totally going to help her.
And then someone said to me, oh yeah, I watch his.
See, I don't think anyone watches.
I follow him on Instagram. He's the funniest. And when my daughter told me, she's like, oh yeah, my friends and we all follow him. And I'm like,
it's weird.
Wow,
yesterday,
it's cool.
Yesterday at the pop-up, a guy was out and he's like, hey, I follow you. And you're like, you don't know me, but like, I know Kevin Jandersitz, or I think that's his last. I butcher his last name, but like they're like, you know Kevin, and I was like, yeah, Kevin's an awesome guy. So this is how I know Kevin. And then we had a bunch of mutual friends, and I was like, hey man, like he was like, do you have any of your sweatshirts here? And I was like, nah, I do drop shipping with this guy locally. And we just got in this conversation, and then he walks away, and I'm like, this guy follows me on social media. He drove up to Jim Thorpe to buy my food, and he wants to buy my apparel.
How cool is that?
And every day I'm like, nobody likes anything I do. I don't like what I do, and it's wild. My therapist yells at me constantly. She's like, stop moving your finish line. Stop moving your finish line. Stop moving it. But to me, I'm afraid, because I feel like if I do it differently, what's wild is if I would step into it and do what I really want to do, I would help 10 to 20 times more people. But I'm like, my big thing, I don't want to hide behind my work. I don't want to not take compliments. It's just such a, like, I'm sure to you it's built in. Yeah, absolutely.
Hello. Yeah.
What is that? Catholic guilt or whatever?
Oh,
yeah.
Oh my. Yep. Yeah. Irish guilt.
Yep. Irish Catholic. Yeah.
12,
CCD, all the confirmation, and then I got shipped over to Notre Dame.
12 years of Catholic school.
Yeah, I got asked to leave public school. Huh? They called my mom and said, hey, we can't legally tell you not to have your son back here, but we'd appreciate it if you would. And then my mom got off the phone and sat down and said, would you like to be grounded all summer? Or would you like to start? She was big with starting over. Let's start over. So she's like...
Oh, God, those words.
So she was like, do you want to start over and just enjoy your summer? And then at the end of summer, you have to go to Catholic school. But all I was thinking about was summer.
Summer, yeah.
Summer. And then when it came time, it was not fun. I remember hey, I think I should go back to public school. But if I wouldn't have went there, I wouldn't have graduated. I don't know what path I would be on.
You went in high school?
Yeah, I left. Shit hit the fan ninth grade. Ninth grade was wild. And then I had to, because it's funny because they act like they were having an acceptance meeting with me, but I'm pretty sure my parents' $5,000 is what the fuck changed their mind.
Exactly.
So I remember sitting in there with them, and they're like, "Would you like to change your life and all that?" But I mean, if I wouldn't have went on that path, I don't know. I probably would have ended up in jail, drugs. Right. Yeah, it was wild to be. I look at my kids, my friends' kids, and I don't have kids, but I look at my friends' kids at their age, and I was like, "You were doing what?" So I mean, for me to get over there, it was a blessing in disguise, because I don't think I would have graduated. It cut me out of all my friends. Yeah. I still talk to some of them, but I also made friends over there that, my little brother married my best friend's sister, so like they started dating. At Notre Dame when we were there, and like they're now family. And then like I call him my brother-in-law, but it's one of my best friends who his little sister married my little brother. Like he opened up a ramen shop in Doylestown. And like we talk about food, and like I built a lot of awesome relationship there. But the other side of Catholic is I just feel bad about doing everything.
Oh God, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which is probably why I go to a therapist, because then that's my my confessions.
Oh no, I had a therapist once tell me that I was the happiest depressed person they ever met.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like you need to balance shit like that. But to me, that's why I find my avenues, and it might be similar with you, but like that's where I find my happy place is cooking. Like yesterday, cooking, like there's stress, and you're you're looking at it, is it worth it? And then like you hope that enough people come out, but in between that, I'm like, yo, man, just relax. Like you're here with one of your best friends who you met through the food thing. Yeah. His son's working with you. You're listening to music. Yeah. You're not sitting in the studio. You're in this cool brewery. You're making cheeseburgers. Like, man, you used to be stuck working for other people. Now you're making a week's salary in a day. And
then seeing the faces of the people because they enjoy it.
Yeah, and then people coming back and being like, yo, that pizza was awesome. Yo, that burger was awesome. Or like, then you start getting, clientele where I got people that are spending money on merch, spending money on that. I didn't think I'd be doing any of this. I still don't even act like it is what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard. It's like, hard. So I don't know if it's like not accepting compliments keeps you in this weird area, which I think it is. But at the same time, it's like these avenues of things that I do. I don't do them because I want to make money or because I want to do anything else. I do them because
you enjoy it.
I enjoy it. I love it. Like, you know, I see that in a lot of everything that you do. And was one of the main reasons I brought you on is like, you were like, yo, you gotta try this.
I know, it's
You
so
were like, you gotta try the
stupid.
apple. I don't think it's stupid at all. I think
But
that, like,
but it's funny because I'll be like, I'll make someone sandwiches and I'm like, okay, you ready? And they'll be like, what? And I'll open it up. I'm like, isn't that gorgeous?
Yeah.
And then they just stare at me. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, but then there's people who get it, like where, you know, like a lot of times where I did pictures with it, I'm like, man, that's such a huge sandwich. Or, you know, I don't know. It's weird because sometimes you throw it out there and then people are just like, yeah, whatever, man. Like, I'm here for a fucking cheeseburger.
I'm here for a hoagie.
Yeah. But then there's people who would drive all the way up because
Yeah.
they want the experience and the love and that back in it. But like when I jump over into apparel, even like, I'm like really excited about doing apparel.
Oh my God, those sweatshirts are cool.
They came out really cool.
I like 'em.
So like I got so much love on those. But apparel's like cooking. It's like sometimes people just don't like your shit. So it's like I've already made stuff where people are like, yeah, okay, and then nobody buys it, and you're like,
There's the,
you know,
there's the
pork.
Irish Catholic coming out on you.
Here's the pork I got. You know, like when it's the same thing
Yeah.
as putting pork in the freezer. It's the same thing with apparel. So like, you know, and then I was like, I get excited. So I was like, oh, I'm going to do stuff for February. I'm like, I'm going to bring, because I have a logo for the pop-ups that I do. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this like Heartbreakers thing. And I'm just going to do like pink and black and white and like keep it very like hot pink on
Yeah.
everything. And like do like, I'm going to look at making a couple women's sweatshirts
Yeah.
and stuff. But I get like, I don't, why I do that, I'm not thinking about anything. I ain't thinking about bills. I ain't thinking about my problems. I ain't thinking about my exes. The only thing I'm focused on is like this thing that I'm happy with. And I feel like that's what I do with food. That's what I do with everything. And I don't know, I see a lot of that in you with
It is.
how you operate the store and how you do everything over there. And I feel like you give so much love out. And even when I like saw you in the parking lot, you're like, hey, you're like, I'm just stopping here for a second and I gotta go, but like you're checking up on me like I'm one of your children.
I know, it's so silly.
But I don't think it's silly at all. I think it's something that is not available everywhere, because if you go into even a Starbucks or a gas station, everyone in there does not want to be fucking working in there. And unless it's your business or you're doing something unique and you're treating your employees very well, but the amount of corporate shit that swallows the area with the warehouses and everything going in, you can't get that from anywhere. So it's nice to feel a verbal hug or a verbal, you know, you're making jokes and like it's an escape from a large, especially the way times are now. It's a giant escape from a large amount of bullshit that's going on, whether it's on radio you're listening to. You know, you can't get away with it. I turn a lot of shit down. I mute a lot of things, but like still, it's there. Even if you can't even go on a hike with somebody without it bringing up politics. So it's like, for me, it's like that's my favorite thing about your place is, take the food out of it. It's like the getaway, the escape, and the 15 minutes that you get in there where everything's turned off and you're just having a moment inside of a small general store that was one thing that you took a passion to grow it into your place where you serve everybody and everything that's coming in there, and you give 100% of yourself to them no matter what's going on in your personal life. I think you have a very unique thing over there, and I appreciate you coming on. I know you're kind of taking this compliment, but
How can you tell?
I think because we're the same person.
I know.
I don't know. I love what you're doing. I love your food. Keep doing what you're doing.
I appreciate it.
I'm going to give you a chance to kind of plug all your social media. I hope you know it.
Oh, crap.
But
I think it's pretty simple.
yeah, I'm going to give you a moment to kind of tag your Instagram and that. I share a lot of your stuff, but your Facebook, you seem to be doing a lot of stuff on that. So if you can kind of give your social media out, you can do it now.
Oh, okay. Kate's Corner Deli on Facebook. Instagram, Kate's Corner Deli.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I'm
I think.
original.
No, it's easier. I used to have different shit, and then when I put everything to Never Again Studio,
It's easy to remember.
Way easier.
I'm horrible with
That's
all
the
that
worst.
crap.
I have like 19 emails, and now I'm just like, just do it at Never Again Studio. That's
Yeah.
I figure like that's the umbrella. That's everything
Passwords,
under.
forget it.
Yeah.
I guess that's about it. We're at 500 Belfast Road, Nazareth, Pennsylvania. Oh, 610-759-1744 is the number.
And when do you do your menu drops?
Sunday afternoons.
Cool.
On Facebook, on Instagram.
And what days are you open too? What days are you closed?
We're not closed. Monday through Friday. I know, it's the Irish. Go ahead. I know what you're
no,
thinking.
I was like, you're not taking a day off.
Monday through Friday, 6:30 till 6 at night. Saturday, Sunday, 7 to 3.
Cool.
Yeah.
And who's your employee that's in there? I want to give a shout out to her.
Chris is there all the
She's awesome.
time. She's awesome. She makes the homemade cakes. I know everyone loves them. And she's a great employee. She's a good friend. And she's a hard worker.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hard to find anymore.
And then I have Lucy and Thomas. They're not there that much.
I haven't seen them yet.
Lucy's there. She's there now.
Cool.
I don't know why. I thought that was a clock.
Nope, that's a dragon head.
Oh, that's scary. I didn't know what that was.
You looked up there and I was like, oh, I have a clock. I don't have a clock. I have a coffee machine. The coffee maker behind me.
I just assumed a clock would be there.
I need to put one there. That was funny.
Oh, that was stupid.
This is the experience of being in the store.
This is. I guess this is why people make fun of me.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
First time listener, first time watcher. It's neveragainstudio.com.
He's the best.
You can get all the audio and video there. Instagram, that is where everything is. Instagram is where I do everything. I don't post on Facebook that much. I just repeat posting on the Facebook. So Instagram, you can get into my link tree. That's how you get to the apparel. The apparel is not on my main.
Apparel's awesome.
I had problems with the apparel yesterday. I'm trying to get it switched to one thing. But for now, if you go through my link tree, it goes to dynamitescreenprinting.com. That's Kyle Metz. He's a sponsor. Check him out. If you need anything with apparel or anything, let me know. Subscribe to the YouTube. I got other shows going on there. Zach's Corner's back on. Only Friends is a show I do with Kelly Pettis. And then I also am doing the business with Tony Gallo and Banco Beverage. So check all those things out. We have new things coming up in the new year. And thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate everybody for listening and watching.
Never Again Radio. Get into it, brother.